You have never seen these cut Pokemon before. There have been some scrapped Pokemon revealed to us that we've gotten the chance to learn about, but currently haven't gotten to see their actual designs, which is why in this video I'm gonna show you what they could potentially look like. And we're gonna start with the evolution of the cut water starter from Hoenn. You may have seen this little guy take over the internet recently when he was leaked to have been the original water starter for the Hoenn games alongside Trico and Torchic, and as a starter, it naturally would have had 2 evolutions. We haven't gotten to see those evolutions to this point, but this is what its first evolution might have looked like. With the main theme of its first stage obviously being its inner tube that also doubles as its tail, that would pretty likely continue to play a role in its evolutions as well. And the way that I decided to interpret it here, I feel like is more or less what we would have got. It obviously keeps the inner tube theme as mentioned, and also gains a swimsuit pattern on its legs to contribute to that whole idea. And it also remains a pure water type. I also decided to name this design Bunoi, coming from bunny and buoyant, which refers to something that can float and references its inner tube theme. Honestly, when it comes to predicting what these Pokemon might have looked like, I feel like this one is probably not too far off, because even though the final evolution of a starter can change wildly and be pretty much anything, the middle evolution is a lot of times a lot more similar to the first stage. So, Bunoi might have actually been more or less what we could have expected had this guy actually been Ruby and Sapphire's water starter. And speaking of the final evolution of this line, I am also going to be showing that off as well, but I'm gonna save it for a little bit later, because right now I have also got another Hoenn Pokemon to cover. Along with this rabbit starter, another major revelation from the recent Pokemon Terra leak was that Tropius was going to have a pre-evolution. This is what it looked like, but it also didn't stop there, because according to the data within this leak, Tropius was actually going to have 2 pre-evolutions, with this one that got revealed to us being the first stage, and the second stage being a Pokemon that we have not gotten to see. So in order to give us all a look at what that might have been like, I have come up with my own interpretation for this Pokemon, and this is what it looks like. By the way, big shout out goes to my guy Rgreywind, who I commissioned for the artwork of these designs, and as always, you can check him out with the links in the description. So this is what I believe a Tropius middle evolution could have looked like, based on both Tropius and its cut first stage. The first stage is obviously quite a bit different in appearance to Tropius itself, and in relation to Tropius, it seems to possibly be taking on a sapling sort of theme, with Tropius being the big banana tree that it eventually grows into. And that is where this guy comes into play, because I figure if this Pokemon is a sapling more or less, and Tropius is a big banana tree, then the middle evolution could be based on an actual banana as a middle point. Realistically, this Pokemon probably would have been either a smaller version of Tropius or a bigger evolution of the first stage. So going from a little seedling to a banana tree seems like a solid possibility in my opinion. The long shape of a banana even matches up with Tropius's other inspiration, which is a long-necked dinosaur, so a Pokemon based on a banana could have actually been a great precursor to that. Quite possibly my favorite part about this design, though, is its name, because I have decided to call this guy Plantain, coming from plantain, which is a type of banana, and teen, since this Pokemon is a middle evolution, and hypothetically is in the teenager stage of its growth. And speaking of growth, my merch store is a great way to help support and grow this channel to help keep making these videos possible. We've got adorable, soft, and super high quality plushies featuring Volcachi and Rgreywind from my videos, and the Volcachi plush even comes with a really cool promo card too. And if you like cards, there are also booster packs you can pick up that feature the Fakemon from my videos, and each pack contains one of the 3 starters from my Pokemon Cardinal series. The cards look amazing, the plushies are awesome, and every order directly supports videos like this one. So be sure to check that out and grab something with the link in the description, and as always, your support is immensely appreciated. So yeah, give it a look, and now let's get back to the video. As lovely as Plantain is though, we've also got more Pokemon to cover here, and believe it or not, there are even more Hoenn Pre-Evolutions who never lived to see the light of day. One of those is a cut Torkoal Pre Evolution, who we've known about for a little while now thanks to data within the various leaks that have occurred over the years, but we haven't gotten to see a design to pair with it. So, in putting a face to the name, this is what that cut pre-evolution might have looked like. Since Torkoal is coal themed, I personally imagined its pre-evolution as basically just a lump of coal. And while that does feel like a reasonable possibility, I feel like it also offers a reason as to why this Pokemon was possibly cut in the first place. In interpreting what this Pokemon could have looked like, it very much came out looking like a baby Pokemon. And while it definitely has the cute factor going for it, that could have actually been the reason why it was cut, as it might have been seen as redundant or unnecessary. In the end, Torkoal is a pretty solid standalone Pokemon, and if anything, it would be better served with an evolution rather than a pre-evolution. So while this one is super cool and interesting in terms of it existing, it is probably for the best that it was cut. I did still give this guy a name though, as I decided to call him Turtle, as a pun on turtle with the word coal added on to the end, just like with Torkoal. To this point, we have just been covering Pokemon from Generation 3, but there were others from other generations that were revealed in the recent Terra leak as well that we have not gotten the chance to actually see. One of these reportedly came from Pokemon Sun and Moon, as various details were leaked about those games, including a number of cut Pokemon. As is the theme of this video, there was one in particular that we only got a description of, but reportedly it was going to be based on a basilisk lizard. It was supposedly going to be a grass type and apparently had the motif of a floating plant, which seems to be a play on the basilisk lizard's ability to run on water. With that description in mind, this is what this Pokemon might have looked like. Due to its association with water, I have decided to call it Iguana, coming from aqua and iguana, which frankly I think is a pretty great name, but there is also something else going on with this design too that also contributes to its appearance, and helps to tell us that this is indeed what this Pokemon might have actually looked like. According to the information that we have on this design, it was apparently similar in appearance to the Salandit line, and therefore was under consideration to possibly adopt it as a counterpart to the Salandit family. But obviously that did not happen, and this Pokemon ended up being cut instead. So between all of those different descriptors, this is probably fairly close to what this Pokemon actually would have looked like. And while I think it was probably for the best to let Salandit stand out on its own as one of the marquee Pokemon of Gen 7 instead of it making it share the spotlight with a counterpart, this Pokemon could have been pretty cool in its own right too, and it is still unfortunate that it was cut. It is now time to wrap back around to the beginning of this video though, and take a look at what could have been the final evolution of the cut Hoenn water starter. Like I mentioned when talking about its middle evolution, the final evolution could have gone in any number of different directions, so predicting what Game Freak had in mind for it is a lot trickier. But with that said, I feel like this is as good of a guess as any as to what this starter would have evolved into. Like with the middle evolution, I think the key clue for how this starter was potentially going to evolve lies in that inner tube that it has wrapped around its waist. That very well could have been the start of a bigger motif for this line, and so I have interpreted it as it being the start of a lifeguard theme that eventually it would have evolved into in its final evolution. So that is what this design is primarily based around, and to me, that feels like a pretty natural progression coming from the first stage, so I feel like it works out pretty well as a possibility. This also contributes to an added type that I have given this design as well, which is fighting, making it a water fighting type. Not only does this work with the inspiration, but it also could have worked in relation to the other starters too, because even though Blaziken is obviously a fighting type, it was originally part flying type instead. So at this stage of development, the fighting type would have still been up for grabs. To round out the concept, I also came up with the name Rgreywind for this design. First, I just think it sounds cool as a name and would be fitting of a final starter evolution, but then it also does work as far as the etymology goes, as it comes from rabbit, rain, and then a little more loosely, the other word rain, as in to govern or control, which connects to it being a lifeguard who reign over the pool or beach or body of water that they're guarding, and also kinda works as it being the final evolution of a starter Pokemon family, as the final evolution quote-unquote reigns over the rest of its line as the strongest member of the group. But all things considered, it's still really fun and exciting to visualize what we might have gotten if things had gone just a little bit differently. Be sure to let me know which one of these you would have wanted to see in the games in the comments below, and be sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe if you enjoyed. Thanks so much for watching as well, and until the next one, as always, I will smell you guys later.